Let's look into how you can run a regression in EViews. Okay. Here is an example of an econometric model between weight and height. So in this model, you are hypothesizing that there is a positive relationship between height and weight, or there is a relationship between height and weight. The taller an individual is, the heavier they're going to weigh, right? So that's the model. There isn't any other variables included in it. So what you do is you go ahead and collect data. You sample some individuals, collect their weight and their height, and that's your data, sample data, and you use that to estimate this equation. Right? When you're estimating this equation, what you're doing is you are estimating this beta 0 and this beta 1. Right? This equation can be rewritten as yi, where yi is your weight of individual I and xi is your height of individual I, right? So just renaming weight and height with y and x respectively. This I over here, this indicates the individual, right, or the data point in your sample. So if you have surveyed 100 individuals, collected their weight and height, so you're going to have individual 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to individual 100. Okay. And this way, this I over here, for instance, if you are fitting this equation for individual 20, so this is weight of individual 20 is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 times height of individual 20, right? Plus other residuals that are not included in this model, right? So that's what this I represents. Okay, let's go ahead and run this regression. So there is some sample data on Blackboard. Go to Blackboard under Module 1. You see there is an Excel sample data and there is an EView sample data for height and weight. They're both the same data. They're just in different formats. One is in Excel, the other one is in EViews. So you can directly download the EViews sample file. Right, save it. Okay. This is how it's going to appear. See, these are resid. These are placeholders for your constant and for your residual. X over here, this is data on height, and Y is data on weight. Right? Double click it, you can see. So X, this is inches in excess of 5 feet. So if this is 5, that means the individual is 5'5", 5'9", and so on, right? And these are the weights. If you double click on the Y, you can see the weight. So individual 1 who was 5'5", that individual weighs 140 pounds. So now you have access to some sample data. So now let's go ahead and run the regression. To run a regression in EViews, it's quite simple. Go to quick, right, estimate equation, and then you type out your variable. So over here, if you see, there are some instructions, dependent variable followed by list of regressors, right? So regressors, so your dependent variable, regressors is your explanatory or your independent variables, right? You can either rewrite the equation like this, or you can just type out your variables. First, start with your dependent variable. So our dependent variable is a weight, which here is y, right? You can type it. Also, to make it easier, you'll get a drop-down menu with your variables. Right, so y, c to capture the constant, which is beta 0, and then x to get your regressor, your explanatory variable, or your independent variable, whichever you want to call. Right, so that's it. Y, c, x. So y for your dependent variable, c for the constant, beta 0, and then x is your independent variable. Hit OK. And there you go, that's your regression result. So based on this sample data, the way you read this, so you can see you have your dependent variable, the method, observations included, that's your sample size, so 20, your variable c, so that's your constant, beta 0, and then x, this is the coefficient for x, this is the coefficient for height, which is 6.37. Okay? So these are the beta 0 and beta 1 that we estimated. So beta 0 is 103.39 and your beta 1 is 6.37. If you see here, so this is your equation, yi is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 times xi plus epsilon I. There's a plus sign over here to just show that the hypothesis is that there is a positive relationship between x and y, so this number should be, so beta 1 should be positive, right? Significantly positive. Okay, so how do we write this? So you can rewrite this as estimated weight, or weight is equal to 103.40 in place of beta 0, and then replace beta 1 with 6.38. Okay. Yep, 6.38 if you round it. Right, so there you go. So you have run your regression and you got estimates for your beta 0 and for your beta 1. Okay. If you want, you can save this equation. Click on name. This is how you save the equation. It will save as equation 1. You can change the name if you want to. I'll just keep it as that. Okay. So this will save your results. You can rename these variables if you don't want to see x and y. You can rename them to whatever is easier for you. Just know that sometimes it's better to have some shorthand. So when you're writing an equation, it's faster and you're less likely to make a mistake. But if you want, you can rename them. Rename this weight, and then rename x as height. Okay. So when you do that, let's go back. Oh, I did not. Okay. Now that we have renamed them, it's not going to change anything, but if that's easier for you, you could do that. You can still run it. Right, so you would have your weight is equal to c, and then height. You don't have to select it, but just to make sure I didn't make a spelling error. So there you go. Your answers are still the same. Your estimates are still the same. Beta 0 is 103.39, and height is if you round it, 6.38. Okay. So there you go, that's how you run a regression in EViews.